Hello and welcome to Moementum channel. In this video, I'm going to provide you with an update on Emma's portfolio. Who is Emma, you might ask? Well, she's my 2-year-old daughter. Take a look.
Hello, Siri.
Go ahead.
Hello, Siri. Hello, Siri.
I'm here.
Hello, Siri. Hello, Siri.
Hello?
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello, Siri.
Go ahead.
Okay, now back to serious stuff. Her portfolio has been performing amazingly.
As you might recall from the first episode, Emma's portfolio comprised of 3 categories. We had growth category, index fund, and dividend. But later we changed this structure into 4 categories by adding a new category called cloud stocks. And in particular, the reason for doing this was to distinguish the cloud stocks which somehow have their unique characteristics and do not necessarily move with the rest of the market, and cluster them into a certain group altogether. So just to give you an update, Emma's financial abundance portfolio, when it comes to growth category, it currently has 11 holdings, and in the spirit of full transparency, I'm actually listing all of these 11 holdings underneath the growth category to the right of the screen. And as you can see, here we've got holdings in Apple, American Tower, we've got holdings in Boeing, and a couple of other companies such as Bristol Myers, Beyond Meat, as well as Goldman Sachs and Eli Lilly. As you can see, all of these holdings except one, which is the Canopy Growth, which has been one of our speculative stock picking, basically, have had very positive performance so far. So what you see on the right hand side of the screen is actually showing you the total performance of that particular stock. For instance, Apple has had almost 74% growth since the time we bought that, and that accounts to almost $1,802 of net gain, and this is of course unrealized gain. So along the process we have made some selling in order to lock in the profit and basically get some cash. So that is something that will be reflected in the realized gain, as you can see in the table. So the table shows you that overall, in terms of unrealized gain, on average we are sitting on around 23% positive growth, whereas the realized gain for this category has been 14%, and that actually excludes the dividend. It's just the realized gain which has been materialized by selling some of the positions, maybe trimming some of them or selling some of the stocks altogether. And this category has so far generated around 395 USD in dividend, which is really decent for a category of this size. Other category, which is the index fund, has now only 5 holdings. So you might recall from episode 1 that we actually had a lot more holdings underneath the index fund, but since then we have been selling a couple of those to raise more cash to reinvest in other areas, and also to lock in some of the profit. So the realized gain here, as you can see, is almost 11%, but the unrealized gain, something that is still on the table and we are not cashing it in yet, is an average of 19%. The best performing here obviously has been an index fund called UDOW, which mimics the Dow Jones times 3, so it's rather higher risk, higher reward, and at this stage it's sitting at 52% growth. But as you can see, we only have 1 unit of that because we have been selling everything else along the way to cash in the profit. This category has paid so far 88 USD in dividend. The next category has been the dividend category. This is the one which specifically looked into investing in companies or stocks or holdings which paid a decent dividend majority of the time, more than 5%, 6% or something within that range. So as you can see, again, referring back to episode 1, we used to have a lot more holdings in this category. Some of the companies you might recall from that episode used to be AT&T, but we sold it out once we noticed that it's actually peaked, and we sold it at a very good profit. The realized gain overall for this category is 21.6%, which is very good. And in terms of the unrealized gain, which basically is still on the table, it is sitting at around 45%. Now remember, later on when I'm showing you a summary of all of the categories, I believe this is the best performing category so far for us, and it has generated a dividend of around 199 USD. And last but not least, here we are looking at the cloud category. This is the category that has been looking into investing in cloud stocks such as Twitter, CrowdStrike, VMware, Salesforce, ticker symbol CRM, and Cloudera, which is rather a more speculative type of stock. We made a video on Cloudera in a couple of months ago, so you might want to look at that as well. And as you can see, the unrealized gain here is around 17%, and the realized gain is 9.2%. This is rather a recent addition to Emma's financial abundance portfolio, and as a result of that, it hasn't had as much time in comparison with the other 3 categories to grow, but it's still, as you can see, it has had great and decent performance. The best performing holding here in this category has been Cloudera with 29% growth, followed by Salesforce, which has had around 28% of growth so far for us. So here is a summary of every 4 category that we have invested so far for Emma, and as you can see, like I said, the best performing category has been the dividend. And here I've also summed up and added the realized and unrealized gain, because potentially if we were to sell them, let's say today, we could actually get that much profit to come up with the total return. And again, as you can see, the best performing category so far in terms of the total performance has been the dividend, followed by the growth stock. Cloud, on the other hand, despite being a new addition to our investment portfolio, has been performing rather phenomenally, and it's very closely following the index fund, which basically had a lot more time to run. So we are very happy with the way our cloud investments have been returning so far. What stocks or categories of investments are you interested in? Please leave us your feedback and comments about this video, and make sure to subscribe to the channel to be updated with the latest videos that we produce. Thank you very much for watching this, and I hope you can press the like button if you really enjoyed that.